Hello folks, Bud Fields here. Hey, we're reaching back, being a little bit of nostalgia here. Some people asked me when I started doing video and podcast work, and it's been several years ago. But I got permission from Mr. Grant Davis of Walton Webcasting and Mr. Dan Oakes, the gentleman that purchased the Kokomo Perspective, and I was doing some work for them on videos. And I got permission from them to use some of the old footage just to kind of show you a much younger me and how I got my start doing podcast work. I hope you enjoy it and bear with us, and you guys have a great time. See you later on more episodes of Outdoors with Bud. Thank you.
Blue light flashing down the railroad track, blue smoke rolling from the old smokestack, old blue train. Don't leave me behind.
Hello folks, welcome to Outdoors with Bud. I'm your host, Bud Fields. I've had a lot of people contact me also, and they're requesting some information on jig fishing. When's the best time to use a jig? How do you use it? So today I'm going to try to share some information with you. Now, it's not the only way to do it, but it's the way I use it, and it's worked well for me. One of the most common misconceptions about fishing a jig, a lot of people think that the only time that you can use a jig and be successful is early in the season when the water temperature is cold. That is a good time. But if you only fish a jig during that time of the season, you're missing out on a lot of quality fish. Actually, you can fish a jig all year long. You could fish it from the time the water temperature is in the 30s and the 40s all the way up to where it gets above the 90s. Now, you got to change your tactics a little bit. But first of all, a lot of times when you're fishing a jig, most of the people want to use it as a bottom contact lure. You throw it out there, you let it sink, you work it slowly on the bottom in kind of an up and down motion. You'll pick the rod tip up, the lure will come up, then it'll go down and set on the bottom. Then you'll let it sit there, then you'll move it again. That is a very effective way. But you can also swim the jig by throwing it out there, picking the rod tip up, which is going to bring the jig up, and then let it kind of sit down, and then just reel it real slow and let it come across the top the water, the weeds and everything, which is very effective. Now, what is a jig? A jig, a lot of them are lead-headed, some of them are tungsten. They've got the hook back through here. They've got a weed guard to make them fairly weedless, and they've also got a skirt on it to add action. Now, sometimes you can buy them all one color, or some of them has got little streamers in it to change the colors and add more colors to it. Some of them will be like a round ball head jig head, and some of them will be shaped like a football. Some of them will be kind of a teardrop, and each one of those has got a certain application. Some of them are better for using around rocks. Some of them you cannot use around rocks because they're going to get hung up, and you will get hung up using a jig. Now, also, you may be aware of the fact that when you fish a jig, chances are you're going to catch less numbers of fish, but the quality of the fish is going to be much bigger than what you would catch otherwise. For instance, just like this jig, you can see this has actually got a different angle on it. Something like this was going to work real good around rocks, because when you add something to it as a trailer, it's going to let it float up. Now, this particular jig is kind of a crawdad color. It's kind of a green and red flake, and it's also got a little rattle on the inside of it. And a lot of times in murkier water, it's advisable to use a jig with a rattle. Then this is a little larger jig, a little bigger hook. This is used for fishing deeper water. This is kind of a chartreuse and green, which is a good color. Then of course you've got your old standby, the dark black jig, or black and blue is a good jig to use. But what I like to do when I get them, I like to bend that weed guard down a little bit and trim it to where it just barely touches the tip of that point. If you get it too high up there, when the fish goes to put that jig in its mouth, it's going to hit the weed guard, and it could cause them to shy away from it. But jig fishing is a lot of fun, and it can be very productive. Now, just to add to it, we have what they refer to as trailers for the jig. You simply add this onto the hook, and it adds more life and action to it. Now this is one of them that I designed. I always refer to this as the bud bug. It's kind of a long crawdad creature type of a bait. Now early in the year when the crawfish are smaller, I like to use a much smaller crawfish as a trailer. And I'm going to show you each of these trailers, and I'm going to show you how to rig them. Now here's another one. This is kind of the intermediate size. It's not too big and it's not too small. Now this is a good color combination, a black and a blue. But once again, it's a crawfish design. Then here once again is a little smaller one, which is real good earlier in the year. Now when you get into warmer weather, of course the crawfish are going to be bigger at that time. I recommend going to a bigger one. Now also, you can use what they call the pork chunk or the pork frog. Now this particular one here is made out of plastic, but it's supposed to be like the pinchers of a crawdad. Now if you look at this one, this is the exact same shape as that earlier one I showed you, except this is real soft. This is actually made out of pork rind. Now Uncle Josh Company has been making these for years and they're very effective. Now the trailers that I showed you earlier are very, very effective for jig fishing. 90% of the people that use jigs will have some type of trailer on it to give it a little more action. Now the first jig, I've showed you how to rig the trailer on there. Now envision, if you will, when you cast this out and it's sinking, the jig is falling first, the trailer is going down behind it, and the tentacles are kind of waving. Also, as you're bringing it through the water, up and down, you're going to get all kind of action on that. But the crawfish like this one is very effective. Now I've got the smaller crawfish rigged on this one. I tried to keep the colors very similar, but that's a smaller crawfish. I like to use this earlier in the spring when the water temperature is a little colder and I'm using it a little slower. Now the other jig, I've got one of the pork chunks on it, the pork frog. Now this is the plastic one, but this is basically how you use it. As you can see, this will add a lot of action on any type of current, any type of rod tip action. But I think if you try fishing a jig with some type of a trailer on it, whether it's early in the year, whether it's the middle of the season, or when it's extremely warm outside, I think you're going to be surprised at the amount of fish that you're going to catch. You got to have confidence in it, and you're not going to get confidence in it unless you throw it and use it. But just get you some jigs, different sizes, different colors, for different applications, and I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with the results. I want to thank you for joining us today on Outdoors with Bud. Stay tuned for more informative segments. Take a kid fishing, and God bless.
Flashing down the railroad track, blue smoke rolling from the old smokestack, old blue train. Don't leave me behind.